Hello, my name is Alec Forbes and my college ID number is 88774. This is an overview of a sports session that I have coached, and in this overview I would actually like to tell you what my session was, the strength and areas of improvement both for myself and the participants within the session. I'd also like to assess what barriers may have occurred and how I could have dealt with them if they did occur, and also what opportunities I might have missed within the game. The session I delivered was a game of Danish football, which is basically a game of Danish long ball, only using your feet to kick the ball instead of hitting it with a bat. In order for this to happen, obviously a few aspects of the original game had to be changed. One of these was that the participants had to use a ball which could be kicked, and obviously, pretty obvious rule there. And it had to be bowled lower down so they could kick it. Apart from this rule, though, apart from these rules, it was basically the same game with the players having to run to the other end of the hall and back without getting hit by the ball, one-handed off the wall, which obviously is a bit harder because it's a bigger ball. My strengths during the session were keeping a structure to it, which allowed it to run smoothly with little management, making it a lot easier for me. And I also think it will have made it better for the class because they weren't waiting around as much. When one team was winning by a lot of points, I changed the teams to make them fairer because I could tell that a few of the participants were picking the game up a bit better than some of the others were. So they were just doing a bit better at this particular sport. I feel I did my role as an official, as I did keep track of the score. I stuck to the rules, and I did make a decision on something if I had to. This meant that there was obviously someone there to keep the game as fair as possible, although obviously it's always possible for people to make mistakes. As a whole, my session was an enjoyable game, and certain participants said it was fun, and that gives them positive thoughts of sport, which might make them want to participate more in the future. It was quick paced as well, which can help prevent participants from becoming bored. Another good thing about my game was also that I think my warm up was really heavily linked in with it as well, because obviously the game involves throwing balls at people, and so did my warm up. Another strength of my session was that I got most of the points across that I wanted to through speaking clearly and articulately, which I think that allowed the participants to, on the whole, have a really good understanding of the game. I must say that this was helped by their listening skills, obviously, to take in all the information. And paid good attention to what I was saying about the various rules and parts of the game, on the whole anyway, but I'll get to that bit later. But however, there was one thing that certain members of the class said wasn't really explained properly, or when it got to the game, they didn't realise that I'd said that one of the rules was that headshots are allowed. To be honest, I think this was largely due to me not being clear enough with my explanation of the rules. I mean, I should have really explained them fully, which I don't think I did, and really emphasised that this was a rule. I think I gave them very basic explanations of what the rules of the game actually were, which wasn't great on my part. And in the end, this meant that I ended up having to take time out of the session to reiterate. Other areas for improvement would be ensuring the game is a contest at all times, and although I tried to change the personnel and the teams around, I could have done this through changing the rules around to make it harder to get such a big lead. An example for this would be having a timed innings, which would prevent a team from being able to stay out on the court for so long to score so many points. Also, at certain points could have been more commanding, as sometimes I lost control of the group, and basically they just did their own thing and they just going a bit mental with how they were throwing the balls and kicking them around. So I did find it hard to get them back under control. To prevent this from happening in the future, I just really need to speak with a higher volume to maintain a presence, and that should get people to listen to me more and just not mess about as much in my sessions. The strengths of my participants were that they understood the game very well, and this was a credit to their listening skills, which obviously I've already said, and taking everything in that I said during the session. Um, this allowed for the session to run smoothly, and I think it made it more enjoyable for both them and myself. I also think they put in a lot of effort into the session, which allowed for the games to be as competitive as they could be with the teams that they had. I think everyone had a part of the game that they were really good at. Some people it was obviously the kicking the ball side, and looking at the people who might play football a bit more. And then some people were really good at throwing the ball and getting people out when they're on the field inside. And I think it were a good variation of different skills within the class, which made the game very good. I think of development from our participants would be just paying attention at all times to make sure they do hear every rule they say, like obviously, like I've said previously. But apart from that, everything was good. Although I think in the game, I would have liked to have seen them running a bit more smartly. Like when you had to run to the other end of the sports hall, people just seem to go there and then come back on the next score. And I think they could have mixed it up a bit. Like you didn't have to go there on one go and then back on the next one. You could have gone there, and then they could have stayed at that end of the spot. So all of it wasn't right to go and just wait for an easier opportunity to run back to the other end of the hall. Um, or in some situations, they may actually have had a chance to run there and back, and I think that would have made the game more exciting, and it might have even got some of the teams more points as well. I think the potential barriers that I could possibly have had with my session would have been the variety of rules that there was in it, because obviously I did have to change them from the original Danish long ball, and I think it ends up being a lot to explain with it, obviously, with first kicking the ball, but not throwing to a base, you're actually throwing the ball at someone as well. And I think maybe people could get their own ideas of the rules as well, which may have been one of the things that did happen occasionally in my session. I think the opportunities I missed within my session were that I could have had a timed innings. I think this, as I've said previously, would have helped make it harder for one team to get so many points ahead, like what did happen. I also think it probably make the game a lot more fast paced, so people would be going for a higher score more, so it'd probably make it more exciting for both players and anyone watching the game. Um, as with obviously because they've got limited time to score, people be rushing about a lot more, and it might make it a lot more active while it's being played. I think having a timed innings would have been a change from the rest of the session as well, as all the activities we did, it was just you had as long as you wanted, and it was just until everyone was out. If I was to do the session again, I'd definitely prepare myself better in the head, because I think when I was talking sometimes, um, I just wasn't really thinking about it. I was just sort of mumbling words out, and I think that might have been why sometimes I wasn't explaining things fully, because I started to mumble a bit on the way through. I think that's might have been just down to my nerves on the day. Um, like I say, I'd also bring in a timed innings because I realised that would have been that is a great opportunity that I've missed.